All right, so today we're going to be setting up a full AI automation stack with n8n Flowise, a couple other things locally hosted on Hetzner cloud servers. These are a really low cost, very highly efficient servers for their price range. We're going to be running a 2 gigabyte RAM, 2 virtual CPU server instance. They cost $4.99 a month USD. A little more buying your IP4 address for the server. And we're going to connect that to go to our own domain with subdomains for n8n, for Flowise. We're going to set up Qdrant. We're going to add Prometheus for monitoring of the server. And this will also send metrics over to another app called Grafana. And we can get a lot of metrics, server health. We can monitor individual apps and just get a ton of data back from our server. So let's get into it. And we're going to set up a brand new server on a brand new account. So the prerequisites for this will just be a Hetzner cloud account. You're going to have to go ahead and verify your ID, set up your payment method. They bill you at the end of the cycle, not up front. So you will incur your usage and they will send you a bill at the end of the cycle. But you do have to verify your ID ahead of time before you can actually set up the server. Aside from that, there's no real prerequisites to any of this. Let's jump right in and create a new project. So you're actually going to get different options on what you can get depending on where you're setting up the server. Central Europe has a little bit better priced options. You can get 4 gigabytes of RAM for $3.99 USD a month, probably like $3.80 I'd have to guess on Euro. We're going to set up a US server. It's closer to where we're at, where I'm at least. It does have a little higher price range for a little less power, but honestly, this is all you need for running n8n. Flowise, any of these apps, really, they don't use a lot of RAM, a lot of CPU power, don't use any GPU power, so that's not needed. Anyway, over here we're going to set up with a Docker instance. Now you can also do this on DigitalOcean or any other hosting provider. You can also deploy, any of these operating systems and set up Docker yourself. We're just going to go with their Docker system. And okay, yeah, they do say it's running Ubuntu 24. And we're just going to go with 2 gigabytes, 40 gigabyte SD, 1 terabyte of traffic. All right. For networking, we're going to get the IPv4 address. And then we're going to set up SSH keys to use for logging in. And to do that, let me go ahead and close this instance of Putty. All right. We're going to use the Putty key generator. And to do that, all you do is hit generate key. Oh, I almost forgot. On this, when you are setting up your SSH key, we're going to do RSA, but we're going to do 4096 on that. Obviously, lots of various keys work. This is just what I recommend, is using the RSA. You can also use these EDDSA. Yeah, either one of these are good. And you're going to want to wiggle your mouse in this little box here. So when I initially did it the first time, I kind of, and then went off of it and it just stayed. I completely didn't read what I was supposed to do. So anyway, we are going to copy this SSH key right here. I'm pretty sure it's the whole thing. Let's double check. Add SSH key, paste that in. Oh, okay, so you don't need to copy this part on the end, which would have been just this down here, but that's okay. It pops it to the name. That's fine. I'm going to delete all this afterwards, so the naming doesn't really matter. You can name this SSH key whatever you want. We're not going to add any extra volumes, don't need it. We're not going to set up firewall in Hetzner. We're going to do that in the actual Ubuntu instance. You can add backups. I think these, okay, you got to click right here. So yeah, backups for this lowest cost server is $1 a month. Placement group labels, nothing. Cloud config, nothing. You can name your server whatever you want. This is just kind of descriptive of what it is. So then you're going to hit create and buy now. Since I'm going to delete this server, we're not going to stack on. Alright, so now you get your public IP address for your server. So we will go ahead and copy this. And we're going to want to take that over to our domain provider. Now I've already set this up and I'm actually moving this server to another account. So we would just add an A record in the server, give it a subdomain of n8n, and point it to our server IP address. Depending on your domain provider, you may or may not have these TTL settings. You can do these as auto or Hostinger defaults to 1440. That is fine for what we're doing. I don't bother changing it. So you will set up a subdomain for Qdrant, Prometheus, Flowise, and Grafana. So we will change all these IP addresses. Normally you would add a new record for Hostinger up here. Depending on your domain provider, it may be a little different, but the ultimate objective is to add an A record with the subdomain that you desire for your service and point it to your server IP address. All right, so we are good there. Next step, we need to save our private key. We should have done this a little earlier in the process, but that's okay. We're going to save it without a passphrase. You can add one if you like. Just going to call this key YouTube demo. It will be saved as a Putty private key file, PPK. All right, so now to connect to our server, we'll again grab our IP address. We will enter here, root at the IP we just grabbed. Then we're going to come down here to SSH Keys, auth credentials, the private key for authentication. We're going to browse to where we saved, in my case, the YouTube demo key, whatever the key is you set up. And with that, you can save the server as demo for me, but whatever you want it as, I'll again just delete this later, so it doesn't really matter. And then we hit open, so you will get this warning message. Key is not currently cached for this server. Gives you the fingerprint. We're gonna hit accept. So everything, sorry, get rid of that. Everything automatically logs in because we have the key. We're already saying that we're logging in as root by saying at that IP address, so we're just essentially skipping all the manual authentication steps once we hit connect. And with that, we are ready to set this server up. Now, all the heavy lifting has been done for you by setting up this Docker file here, which I will leave a full step-by-step guide in the description. Before we do that, I'm getting ahead of myself, actually. I'm kind of glad I opened this. Just do a basic update for your server. And the most important part I was going to skip was opening the ports on the firewall. So we will let that run, and I will be back when that's done in just a second. Alrighty, and now that all the updates have ran on the Linux server, let's go ahead and open up these ports. So we're gonna say, sudo ufw allow port 80. We're gonna do the same for port 8080, and we're gonna do the same for port 443. Alrighty, now we need to install this little plugin for Docker Compose. The command for that is just going to be apt install docker-command. Alrighty, and now we're ready to clone the repository that I have set up for you. Git clone, just link that to the repository. And it's just going to be called automation stack, so then change directory into the automation stack. Oh, sorry, I already did that by copying them as a single command. All right. Now we're going to need to use nano to edit the env file. You can also clone this outside of GitHub, or I'm sorry, not GitHub, outside of your server, and edit the Docker Compose file, the env file, and the Caddy file to set up your server, like in VS Code or whatever you prefer, to edit them and then upload them to your own GitHub and use that to pull from the server. However, since there will be sensitive environment variables, recommend that you log into your Git account on your server and then pull from a private repo so those variables won't be exposed. But with this, you're just going to want to change n8n to the URL that you're using. In the case of this video, okay, caps off, we're going to use this website, Daily Cup of AI, protocol HTTPS, change this, set up a Postgres password. Generate a secret key. So I would recommend using some service like, and I don't have it open. I thought I did. LastPass has a good password generator. It does go a little crazy with symbols, so we'll, I'd say at least 32. Wrong Putty window, sorry. Generate secret. All right, URL settings. So this is for n8n. You want to make sure that you do this correctly. This will just be your website. Daily Cup of AI. Subdomain will be n8n. Come down, Grafana password and admin account. Just going to say temp password. Leave it as admin. Flowise, we're just going to leave it as admin. And temp password. Everything else is good. So to save this, we're going to do Control X and then hit Y. File name to write. Hit enter for .env. So you see, if you open that again, everything should be saved. Control X. All right. All right, we want to edit the Caddyfile. So same thing, nano Caddyfile. This is just going to be all the services that you have running on your server. We've got n8n. So you'll see each one is set up n8n.example.com. You're just going to come in here. Let me, sorry about that. And just in case there's any trouble, I'm just navigating with the arrow keys on my keyboard for this. So you're going to set up each one of these Daily Cup of AI. And I'm going to, hope I didn't spell any of those wrong. I'm typing fast. That looks good. So again, Control X. Y, enter, and we're good there. And with that, our Docker file should be, CD. We should be good to start using our Docker compose file. So we'll just say Docker compose up -D to run in detached mode. Docker, not doc, sorry. And that should pull all of the image files for your various services, n8n Flowise, your Postgres database, Qdrant vector database, Postgres exporter, which allows it to connect to Prometheus and export server metrics, Prometheus and Grafana and Caddy, which is your web server. A little bit more lightweight version of Nginx, a lot more easy to configure, as you see from the Caddyfile that we set up with, it was just n8n.ourwebsite.com and then, reverse proxy to n8n and that port number. So really easy stuff to set up. Once all of these images are pulled, Docker will go ahead and start all of these images, and once it's had a minute, we should, no, this isn't going to work just yet. We're still waiting on the last image to pull and the Docker containers to be started. which stuck at the last couple megabytes on the Flowise. There we go. So now it's gonna create all the services in their respective containers and start them up. Typically takes around 10-11 seconds to get all those containers started. And with that, you should be able to come in and set up n8n, get your initial account set up for that. Whoops. So you can see we have various services up and running. Ready to go, reachable from the open internet, which is great. It means you can work on this from wherever, no matter where it's running, where you're working at. We are going to do a few more steps to get everything set up and get Grafana connected to Prometheus and get server metrics displayed, like server health and some of the graphs that I showed you. Go ahead and get your initial graphs set up. So I'm gonna give a shout out to TechDocs for his content. It's probably about a year old now, showing how to set this up. He's got a guide on his website. I've got all the steps listed in my guide as well, but I just want to give credit where credit is due. I wouldn't have been able to figure this out without that, and he made it super simple. So big shout out to this guy. Definitely go give him a follow. So we're going to grab this package off of GitHub. That creates gives us a tar file that we will extract. So again, all these commands are in the guide. Just copy and paste them in the terminal. Should work no problem. Sorry, I've got to get rid of that window. I cannot see where my mouse is on that color screen. My mouse does inversion, so it's just like such a mid-tone gray that it all blends in. All right, CD exporter. Copy this to user local bin. Clean up the folder. Create a node user that the exporter can use and assign ownership. Ensure the service restarts on reboot. We're going to add this here, Control X to save again, yes, enter. And we will reload the daemon first. Sorry, making sure I'm doing this in the right order. Enable the service and start the service. And the final command here will confirm that the service is up and running. You should see enabled, active, and running. If you see that, you're good to go. All right. Now you should be able to go to Prometheus dot your URL. Sorry, not. Anyway, once you come here, you should see your database, Flowise, n8n and Qdrant, as well as your server, and you should have green lights up and running, solid state on all of these. So with that, you will then go to Grafana. .yourwebsite.com, only we're not at yourwebsite.com. All right. And I just made something up for the password. So, what folder am I in? C. Okay, so nano.env. I need to get, oh, temp password. That's right. Temp password. Alrighty. I was just going to recommend that you go check out TechDoc and his video on this, but it's kind of easy to set up. So yeah, from home we're going to do data sources, Prometheus, and we're going to want to point to our IP at port 9090, but it's going to be on HTTP. I was trying HTTPS and it was not hitting, but once you get that, just hit save and test. We're good. We have our first data connection set up for Prometheus and Grafana. So then we will come back to create our first dashboard. We will want to import dashboard. You could discard save changes, doesn't matter. Anyway, this is the screen you want to be at. Import dashboard. Now what we're going to do is Grafana dashboards, Google search. Right here at the Grafana website. And actually, first dashboard you see right here, node exporter full. You'll need to, so you'll have to set up a free account on Grafana to be able to copy the ID. Honestly, you really don't. You can this one, sorry, right here. So the ID for this one is 1860. So boom, just hit load, import, select the data source that we just set up, import, boom. All right, so once you do that, you're all set up. You've got your server metrics running. You got your workload here, CPU, RAM, does not use swap. This is root file system is what I'm assuming. I'm actually not entirely sure on that, but it is what it is. But you get all kind of CPU metrics, CPU memory, network disk, memory. You can see 9 panels, 3 panels, 2 panels, disk storage. Just all kind of stuff. Read, disk average weight, just tons of metrics, tons of. I'm not going to go over them all. There's tons of other stuff you can search here for, whatever you end up running on your server. There's somebody on Reddit that's kind of giving some information on how he's setting up a custom dashboard to monitor various n8n metrics, stuff like that. Yeah, I believe Flowise has something. I could be mistaken, but we shall see. I'm going to dive more into this. There's tons of content on YouTube kind of showing off various setups you can do with this. But with that, that should get you up and running for your own AI automation stack. You can add Olama to this. You can add OpenWebUI. You can add Supabase. You're going to want a little more beefy of a server, I think, than just the 2 gigs of RAM. I know for Supabase, you want a minimum of 4 gigs of RAM, they say. So I don't know. I'd probably, if I was running Supabase with all this and Olama and OpenWebUI, I'd probably get one that had at least 8 gigs of RAM on the server, which, you know, you can see from the Hetzner pricing that let's get back. Oh, I guess I didn't have to do it like that. Let's see. US server. Oh, right here. Sorry. 8 gigs, $33.49 a month. Not bad. Let's see, in Germany, you can get an 8 gig server for $15 a month in Germany. 160 gig storage, 20 terabytes of traffic. I should have probably said this before. Not sponsored by Hetzner, not sponsored by any of these services or anyone for that matter. Just getting started making content, so no one is sponsoring me here, but just a fan of this service since I started. Not sponsored by Hostinger. That's just where I had the domain I was using that I set up. I also use Cloudflare. They're both great providers. They have their advantages one way or the other between the two of them, so you know, it just comes down to preference on that. Anyway, good luck with setting this up. Hopefully it's not too hard for you guys. If you have any trouble, definitely come down to the comment section and ask any questions you have, and I'll try to help you the best I can. And if you found this content useful, please hit the like button, subscribe as well. I'm going to be doing some content on n8n automation, also, as well as building web apps, probably mostly in the Next.js, JavaScript realm, maybe a little bit of Python. We'll see. Pretty rusty with Python, so maybe I'll knock the rust off and we'll learn together. But anyway, if you stuck through it this long, thank you for joining, and good luck.